Welcome to Smart, Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy, a podcast that takes a look at stories of life and leadership for smart, amazing women and men like you.
The way I can give support to the world right now is by showing up. The most important thing is don't think just that you have to bring anything. Bring yourself, show up.
If you are in a position of leadership and a position of management, bring women along with you.
Supporting women is Dr. Nancy's passion and her purpose, and talking with other women and men who promote women's leadership is one of her favorite things to do.
I've yet to meet a woman who did not know what she really wanted. She was just either afraid to ask the questions or she was afraid of what the answers meant.
Their stories connect us and help us understand that the possibilities are endless if we support each other and lift other women up.
Trust is created by persistent identity. I show up in my conversations. I build relationships. I show up as myself time and time and time again. And trust is built. It's one conversation at a time.
Elisa Parker is the ERA Coalition Manager, Equal Voice, Equal Future. She connects people through the power of story, partnership, and solutions to amplify women's leadership and close the gender gap. Elisa has served as the founder of cutting-edge organizations and programs and is a nationally acclaimed radio host, coalition builder, strategist, and visionary for equity and social justice. She currently oversees Equal Voice, Equal Future, a new gender justice media hub championed by the Fund for Women's Equality and its sister organization, the ERA Coalition. Now here's Dr. Nancy and her guest, Elisa Parker.
Well, welcome.
Thank you,
Where
Dr.
do we start
Nancy.
with you?
Oh my God. Where do we start?
Where do we start with you?
You know what? You know what, Dr. Nancy? First, I just want to thank you. I so appreciate being here with you today. And I do, beyond more than I can express, appreciate the sisterhood and just what you were saying about the connecting the dots. I talk about this every day. Every day, it feels like I call them these sweet synchronicities where it's accelerated and so many wonderful, especially women, I'll say, because that's been a lot of my life's work, and helping to uplift women, are showing up in my life in such extraordinary ways, like yourself. It's sometimes I feel like, am I in a movie? Is this real? Do you ever feel like
Well, I remember when I was beating on my drum and I didn't think anybody was listening, and that was tough, finding my tribe, finding these women that were like-minded. And for a long time, I really felt like I was out there beating on my drum and nobody really knew what was going on or didn't care what was going on. And I was telling Zakia yesterday that, the more I achieved, the less I was appreciated.
That's interesting.
I was seen as competitive. I was seen at who do you think you are? But I think that's still there. But I think there's more of us that go, let's connect, let's help each other, let's make a difference. And when we come together, it's a lot more fun. There's a lot more that we can do. And I think that's where I'm at now. And those other women, so. I'm just going around them. I don't need.
Right. So I think a big part of how we're all showing up in each other's lives right now is we're where we're supposed to be. So we're on the right path. We have definitely put so much intention and attention into this. And one of my friends was just saying, she's like, well, Elisa, it's because you're so present and aware of this. You're aware of the signs and aware of, so it's like one thing to say, oh, it's Dr. Nancy. And I was like, I need to check in with her. I need to, here she is. I need to recognize this. So I'm talking about how we just had this extraordinary event with Tiffany Schlein and Gender Feminology in DC, who I've partnered with before. And when she showed up again through my work with the ERA Coalition, like so many women are right now, I'm like, I know Tiffany, she's amazing. We have to do something with Tiffany. We need to do, and it's perfect timing. And there she was. And then I'm like, she's like, Dr. Nancy's a big champion for this. I was like, of course she is. And I listened to it. I was like, I need to connect with you and just, to say, hey, this is what we're doing with the ERA Coalition now. We're here. And so it's
wonderful.
Life's wild.
You didn't have to twist my arm too hard, did you?
I did.
To twist your arm. I don't know if I want to do that or not. Okay.
Well, I mean, I think we also we've worked with each other, and also, though, it's like there's a big part of this as women, like trusting our instincts.
Yeah.
And right.
But we do. I think we do trust each other, and we know that we're in it for the best interest of all. We're not, Gloria says this over and over again. She says the pie's big enough. There's a piece for everybody. And I truly believe that if women understood, like Women Connect, the Women Change the World cohorts, I mean, there is a network that's created, and this trust that, what you're doing, I don't want to do, or maybe I'm not good at doing, but I'm good at this. And when we find all those talents and abilities and we bring them together, anything is possible, I mean,
it really is. But it's true.
It's not funny though, but there's some things that, okay, well, I don't necessarily have to do all those things, but
we don't have to do it all. Right.
No,
but we stay in our, but we all have gifts that we're supposed to actualize. So, I mean, I call myself, when Tiffany was having us introduce ourselves at one of the dinners that she was hosting with amazing women like yourself. And I introduced myself as the Spider Woman, because it really is about, Tiffany had the tree lines, the circles, and then there's the web in between, and how we all are connected. So for me, 50 Women was definitely a big turning point in my life. I know Tabby Biddle, shout out to Tabby, but we were thinking, like, how do we revolutionize this? Like, what isn't working? Like, we're dismantling the patriarchy. So what does that look like then to show up in a way that is modeling feminine leadership and sisterhood and trust, and debunking all the myths that we have as women, like competing with each other, comparing ourselves, like there's not enough women in Hollywood or what, and it was part of that too, was knowing that we want to connect with each other. We want to share resources with each other. That was a big part of it. And then playing in the sandbox in our field. So, I mean, 50 Women Changed the World of Media and Entertainment was, talk about more than I can imagine. It really was beyond anything that I think we could imagine. And that group of women we're still connected with them. They're still supporting each other, Dr. Nancy. They're doing productions and organizations and films. Isn't that amazing?
But wasn't it more important than ever with everything that was going on in Hollywood that you had each other's back? And I think that's why the strike was effective, because finally people are coming together and saying, wait a minute, we've got to, we may be competing for roles, or we may be doing this, but we have got to stick together because we're entertainers, we're storytellers. And I think that's what happens when you finally realize you're much stronger and much more effective when you're in a cohort, in a group that really gets it and can communicate what needs to happen and what you want to see happen, and you get it done, and it gets done.
It does, and it did. And one of the things Tabby and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about, now we're moving in a post-pandemic world, or some kind of post-pandemic world, whatever that is. I mean, it was a huge shift for me. I know one of the things Tabby and I had been constructing, and I'm in the wonder of how it will show up. I mean, it already is now with the coalition, the ERA coalition. One of the programs we were looking at and had started developing was called Show Up for Her. And what does it look like to show up for each other as women? And actually part of the work was so as you were talking about how when you would go to restaurants and introduce each other as doctors, that is showing up for her. And so we'd have women actually start modeling that with each other, because some of us aren't as good as like tooting our own horn. And so as we put it into practice, so we'd have women say, okay, you're going to meet Dr. Nancy, and then introduce her, and you're going to show up for her, and she's going to show up for you. We're going to put it into practice. And so I love it when I'm meeting new people, and like if a good friend's there and I know, I'll be like, oh my gosh, you need to talk to Erin Belardi. She's extraordinary at running Vote Run Lead. And this is Sheila Cameron, and she works with amazing women in production, and right. So it's being able to be present and see. That's what I love as a Spider Woman, is like seeing all of our strengths and gifts, and then how do those work with each other?
And that is our Lift Women Up campaign, which is basically if we all lift as we rise, and that's showing up, which, if you're accelerating and you're achieving this height in your profession and in your community or whatever you're doing, and you bring somebody else along, I mean, everything that I've ever done in my life has come back to me threefold. And people that don't come from a place of abundance, those are the ones that we're dealing with, that come from a place of scarcity, that we may not have to, we can't convince, because they're too hard, they're too determined to hang on to what they have for fear they're going to lose it, that instead of really coming from a place of realizing how much abundance they have in their lives and how many blessings they have, that they'll never change. They'll all, I'm surprised the number of people that truly have huge amounts of wealth that do not gift during their lifetime. They do not gift. They don't see that because they're waiting for the other shoe to drop and something terrible to happen, that they'll lose it all. And that's not where we come from. That's not where this group comes from. This group comes from a place of, you've got this, I've got that. Let's put it together and we can do this. So, all right. Well, the ERA coalition was by far, it's on the top of my list. We were talking about, Zakiya and I were talking about, how do we get this done? I mean, we brought together what she said, 380 organizations are involved in the ERA coalition, which is phenomenal. And of course, the organizations alone that they're all involved with, from the Latinos to every population. Right. What I was really impressed with the coalition meeting that we all attended was the youth component, the excitement, the tenacity, the sheer power of each one of those young men and women speaking. And this is what we've got. We've got to have everybody.
Everybody. It's intergenerational. It's intersectional. And yes, so here's what gives me hope. And, I launched the ERA Coalition podcast recently. And one of the guests is Maria Teresa. And she is the co-founder of Voto Latina. And here's something. Here's what's interesting. So talking about the youth engagement, and when they all walked into the room, remember, like, Voters of Tomorrow walked in a little later, like 6 teenagers and young adults. It's like, wow, this is a shift. This is a shift. So Maria Teresa was saying that with Voto Latino, they're celebrating their 20th anniversary. And their focus has been educating youth about democracy, about their exercising their voice. Do you know what? Those kids are now old enough to vote. They were the 12% that shifted our most recent election. If that is something, if you're thinking about having hope and exercising our rights and our democracy, that is extraordinary. So, and that's, talk about perseverance, right? For 20 years.
I don't know about you, but waiting to get to vote was something I really was excited about as a kid. I mean, turning the age that I could actually vote was like, first you could drink, but then you can vote. I mean, there were some things going on there that were kind of synchronicity, so to speak.
I just told that to my girls. I told that to my girls recently, because one is 20 and the other is turning 18. She's like, I get to vote for the president next year. I'm like, you do? Yeah.
Well, we've got hopefully we've got a new candidate coming out that's for the Democrats. I thought, yay, but the definition of insanity, and this is what's been driving me crazy lately, is people that keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And that's not what we can do right now, Elisa. We've got to do something different, and anything that's different will make it better. It's got to make it better.
Right.
So plans, I mean, you've been involved in so many different things. Well, what is your go-to right now? What is most important to you? I know the story, I haven't even asked you about your personal story, which I think I need to do, is how did you get to be you? I mean, you've been involved in the most amazing different organizations and created the most amazing organizations. But where did all that energy, where did all that creativity and inspiration come from?
I mean, I think it's twofold. I think there's a component that we're born into this lifetime, and it's up to us to be able to discover that. That's part of the wonder. Yeah. But a tremendous part, I'm very, very lucky to have been brought in with two amazing parents. I'm the oldest of four kids, and my mom had 4 kids in 5 years. So that's really ambitious right there.
You took care of brothers and sisters, no doubt.
We did. Yes. We're very close, and we're very close. And my family, my parents, so my dad was a state park ranger.
Oh, wow.
When I was younger, and he was legendary. He passed away just a little over a year ago, and to see everyone show up and talk about him, he's been written about in books, and he was a connector. He brought his love through nature to experience it the best way possible as humans. So he was a ranger at Mount San Jacinto in Palm Springs, where the tram. Wow. And legendary to this day, Dr. Nancy, when we've gone to the tram to the park. Just recently, my mom was there, and a younger ranger in his 20s, and she said, "Well, you might not know about, my husband." He's like, "Did you Jerry Henderson?" He's like, "No, he's the reason I was a Boy Scout. He's the reason I became a ranger." There's so many stories like that. So a Vietnam vet, and my mom is one of the most extraordinary, loving women, a teacher. She became a radio advertising salesperson, and it became like the best at it. And so and they're always very community driven, always service oriented. And you know what, Dr. Nancy, they show up with love, with play, and they are amazing dancers. I love to dance. I will dance with my partner, Chad, anywhere. I'm not afraid. I think to show up with joy and love, and I was thinking about this earlier before we came on, just like, what is it that drives me? And I think for me, if I really looked at the core, of course, showing up with love, but I think one of the things I love to do the most is helping others to feel comfortable as human beings, to helping to create a space and helping other people to feel comfortable in our own skin as humans, and knowing how extraordinary we all are. That is what I love. It's not, so in the present day, like looking at someone and smiling, and to model that in a space where you can feel okay and trusted and connected, and you can dance and you can sing. I love to sing. I started doing that again with my partner.
Back into entertaining the last time I saw you.
Entertaining, I know.
You and your partner are going to go start entertaining again.
We are entertaining. I know. I sang for years up until my 20s, and then, having kids, and my career had been very focused on adult learning theory and organizational development and media. I'd been a radio broadcaster for 17 years, CJ and Do. Like, I had my trajectory. And you know what? It was the Women's March in DC, and we all remember like the chaos and the concerns we were feeling. I got back home from DC, which is, by the way, where I first met Tiffany Schlein, because she came with her 50/50 day, a trailer to our event that night. I get back, and a lot of women were asking me, like, Elisa, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So a group of us formed Indivisible Women. It ended up being one of the largest indivisible groups in the country. Our focus was certainly on rural women at that time. And as we would create these huge events with like 600 women in our little town would show up, we created like a runway down an aisle in the Miners Foundry. So 600 women are sitting here in solidarity. And I'm having the mic. I'm like, I'm going to start singing. I got to start singing again. And so from that day forward, and then now with my partner, Chad, who's a musician, during COVID, we're like, well, what else are we going to do? So we started singing, and we have a whole duet we're getting ready to perform soon. And I love it. It brings me joy. Yeah.
Well, and that's it. The one thing that we all need to understand, and especially as women, and I talk about this a lot when I speak to women also, is taking care of ourselves. Yes. We can give it all. We come into this world with this basket of goodies, and then everybody comes and says, you give them this, you give them that. But then when we need something in that basket, it's empty. And so women have to do what they have, where they find their joy, where they find their happiness.
Yeah.
And, and I think since COVID, that's been my number one, being with people I care about, being with people that are like-minded. The rest of the people I don't have time for. The drama, I can't tell you the things that I've made in my own life. I'm drama free.
I love that. Drama free. You know what? And that was a big part too, having been someone like yourself who's very public, the community we moved from, because we moved from California to Brooklyn a year ago. Our town.
Brooklyn's the up and coming part of
I love Brooklyn.
Park. I've heard so many great things about it.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know what? For me, it's like both Chad and I engaged in our community pretty much as possible as a human being could, or at least we wanted to. And so when we had that pause, because obviously music, performing, like everything stopped in some ways, we were like, wow, well, what else could we do? We've always wanted to live in New York. I work remote. A lot of our teams here on the East Coast. My younger daughter came out and went to high school out here. But so here's the wild thing too, like as being very public people, we both realized we enjoyed to a certain extent being home because we were always out and about before that. And then it is true, like you said, we were very intentional with who we hung out with afterward. Like, where do we put our energy? And I agree, drama free. One story I want to share too, that I think it's important to know, just like taking care of ourselves, is during Indivisible Women, and like we feel now, there's just so much going on in the world. And we recognize so many women were stepping into activism at different periods in their life. Some at that time for the very first time that they ever had. And as some of us hardcore activists were like, we got to get it done. And I was the biggest part of Indivisible Women and all the work that I'm doing now is I believe 100% that it is about the relationships. It is about the connections and the relationships. And if we don't have that, then we'll not be sustainable. And the patriarchy wants us to believe that we have to keep going on our own and burn ourselves out. And I do not believe in that. And believe me, I had a lot of women who would fight back and say, no, this is what, and I'm like, well, what? Still to this day, it is the relationships that I had from Indivisible Women. That's what's sustainable. Same with the cohort, same as now we're convening all of our partners in a deeper way with the coalition. I'm not going to fight back. I'll continue to show up. And we get what we put out. So, but I emphasize that it really is about the relationships we're developing in all of this movement. It is key.
And you're absolutely right. And this is what I want. This is what Women Connect.
I know.
It's about the relationships. It's not about, here, I'll give you some money, now let go away. It's about, wait a minute, now we're involved, we're on the same page. How can we help each other? And just keep coming at it. And like you said, I love the Lift Women Up campaign, but again, showing up for her, that's what we have to do for each and every woman. Because when we all figure it out, that if women were running the show right now, we wouldn't have poverty, everybody would have education, there'd be safety and security for all, we wouldn't have wars, we'd sit down at the table and say, wait a minute, let's get this figured out. We don't have to do this. We don't have to kill each other. We don't have to bomb each other. You're not better than me, that you get a better education and you go to Harvard and I don't get to go to Harvard. We've got to get to that point in our lifetimes that, these coalitions that are forming right and left, we have to let people know about them, because when they find out, hey, you know what? I think I'd like that. I think I'd like to spend time.
I agree. That's what I want. So that for me and my role with the ERA Coalition, one of them is it is working with all of our partners and potential partners too. My mission is that we have a unified vision, a unified message, and that all of us are a voice for the Equal Rights Amendment. We are all a voice, and we will channel that through our own personal stories and the work we do, because it's definitely intersectional. That is my mission, Nancy. Like media, like everybody, corporate.
But we all have personal reasons why we're doing it. And I think the more we share those personal reasons, then we begin to understand that we really, really are on the same page. You know, I want to be treated equally as any other man, woman, child, and you know, and again, my book's called "In This Together." We have to be together on this, and the only way we're going to do that is to be able to build trust, to build, bring hope, and to work together effectively. So, I know we got 30 minutes to do this, and of course that we're just getting started. But the important thing is that know that I'm involved. Women Connect for Good is involved, and I will continue to. We will continue to bring the best to the table, and continue the storytelling. You know, joining the National Women's History Museum board was important because it's the storytelling. We're standing on the shoulders of so many women, especially that nobody knows about. And that, you know, we're coming from a place of abundance. And I think that's what women have to understand, is that we've always had the talents. We've always had the abilities. We've always had the resources. But we have to be reminded, and we have to rewrite those history books.
Rewrite the stories.
Tell the story.
It's true, Dr. Nancy. It's true. And that was a big part of the 50 women cohort, is we weren't there to train them. We knew they came there with the skills, the talent, the expertise, the desire. It was the right timing for all of us to be together in that room. And for the first time, like when we first met, I remember one of the participants saying, I can remove my armor for the first time in my life, in an industry that's not very trusting. So it is extraordinary. I appreciate you, Nancy, and I wonder what amazing things will come from this and this new chapter for us.
Just more amazing things. And the cohort, when I was there for the graduation. The one thing that I want to share for the last part of this conversation is that this woman I talked to, and she goes, I have never experienced anything like this in my entire life, coming together with women in my profession who are willing and hoping to help me and develop a relation and a network with me. She said, this has never happened in my entire life. She goes, I can't tell you how thrilled. And I mean, she was in tears basically, because that's what this is about. It's when we bring people together. Yeah, that's that feel good stuff that everybody wants. We want it.
I love that, Dr. Nancy. And that's what I'm so excited to co-create with the ERA Coalition and the team. We have an amazing team. Zakia's helping in an extraordinary way to help lead the way. I'm excited about it. And that's what we want. That's what we want.
I'm going to be there for the 13th. I'm coming in for a board meeting as well, but we're going to gift that ERA Now quilt. And this woman is thrilled. She is thrilled, the one that made it. So, and that's what it is. This bringing together people that have been doing things and then showing them what they've been doing is making such a difference.
Yeah. It's so
well, you have a wonderful day. It's always good talking to you. And I know this isn't our last conversation. This is one of many to come. But
I'm going to have you on Equality Talks.
Okay.
On Equality our podcast.
You got it. But have a great day, and let's continue to do the good work.
Thank you, Dr. Nancy.
Thank you so much. Bye. Have a great day. Bye-bye. If you enjoy these smart, amazing conversations, please subscribe, rate, and review them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And read and enjoy more amazing stories in my books, In This Together, How Successful Women Support Each Other in Work and Life, and Leading Women. 20 influential women share their secrets to leadership, business, and life. Thank you for listening.